Welcome to the show that undresses interesting subjects in and out of the news, media and life, whilst at the same time wallowing in news steak fries. As the presidential election transition team continues to build a management team of retired army generals, we look forward to 2017. As we're recording this, 2016 is over and done with. Yay. And one of the things that we all do, I suppose, is we listen to the various leaders' addresses over Christmas and New Year. Christmas is the time, 25th of December, if you don't happen to be a Christian. And it's interesting how different people make these speeches. Now, me, a Brit, I grew up on Christmas Day listening to Her Majesty the Queen. She's 90 years old now, but she still carries on the tradition started by her grandfather of making an annual broadcast to the nation. Of course, back in the day, it was done live from Sandringham. This year, Her Majesty the Queen spoke on inspiration in her annual Christmas message. Her Majesty pointed out that to be inspirational, you don't have to save lives or win medals. She said that she often draws strength from meeting ordinary people doing extraordinary things. Volunteers, carers, community organisers and good neighbours. Unsung heroes whose quiet dedication makes them special. The Queen went on to say they are an inspiration to those who know them, and their lives frequently embody a truth expressed by Mother Teresa. For this year, Saint Teresa of Calcutta. She once said, "Not all of us can do great things, but we can do small things with great love." And when people face a challenge, they sometimes talk about taking a deep breath to find courage or strength. In fact, the word inspired literally means to breathe in. But even with the inspiration of others, it's understandable that we sometimes think the world's problems are so big that we can do little to help. On our own, we cannot end wars or wipe out injustice, but the cumulative impact of thousands of small acts of goodness can be bigger than we imagine. The message of Christmas reminds us that inspiration is a gift to be given as well as received, and that love begins in small but always grows. What I find interesting is that I have a number of these talks, I precede them down just a little bit, from the president, our president, and in fact the Russian president did one as well. And I'm thinking that, if you leave out the religious bits that people put in, it's very interesting, isn't it, that a 90-year-old lady, who in fact, if it wasn't for a few hiccups with the French a few years ago, would be this country's queen as well. So it's a serious thought that one wants to take on, right? So what about inspiration for 2017? What do you think about inspiration for 2017, Lewis?
I think that's a fantastic way to begin the year. I know that we often will talk about resolutions just as a society, but I think that there's something very germane, very, very timely about reminding people that it doesn't take magnificent ideas or magnificent plans to make what could be a valuable change. So I find the meaning behind those words especially important because for us here, and I have to wonder if that speech wasn't in a small way pointed at America, because we've been rather dour in our outlook ever since we found out about our new president. So I think we could all use with a little bit of inspiration.
We have with us today Chris, who's recently left the Army as a major. Chris Magerkurth, who often comes on with us. He's brought the lovely Lin with him. And I'm just interested because Chris is an American, right? I'm a Brit. Lin, where are you from? China. Okay, so you do New Year's, right, at home, right?
We do Chinese New Year.
Chinese New Year,
right.
Which is a different date altogether, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So what do you think about inspiration as a sort of New Year's message? Because I did try and find the Chinese president, see if he did anything for the beginning of our new year, but I couldn't find any messages. What do you think about if you were a president, right, and you've lived in China and you've lived in America, and I know you've traveled, what do you think about, inspiration as a theme for the coming 2017?
Oh, I hope there will be a certain level of peace and security in the world. It's a very turbulent time.
So peace and security.
Right.
Okay. Her Majesty the Queen was talking about inspiration in her annual Christmas broadcast to the nation. She talked about a quote from Mother Teresa, who is now this year's Saint Teresa of Calcutta, where she said, "Not all of us can do great things, but we can do small things with great love." How do you feel about that as another foreigner? So here in our team, there are 3 people who were born in a different country and 4 who are Americans. So what do you think, Ivo, about inspiration?
For 2000, why is everyone so serious?
What
in the world's going on?
Well, we're going to drop
Everybody's
it
like,
down. We're going to drop it down a notch in a minute. Just a minute. We want to know what you think about 2017.
Because Jeremy's going to go back over this speech with the Queen's voice.
2017, according to a Chinese calendar, is the year of the rooster. And to me, that means 2 things. First, I'm going to be waking up very early, probably. And I'll be surrounded by chicks. And that's great. That's great. On the other hand, it doesn't matter because according to the Aztec calendar, 2017 doesn't exist. So I don't know what it all means. I have no idea. But I think we're in for a tough year. We're gonna have a seriously disturbed individual taking the helm of the biggest military power in the world. Combative, lazy, narcissistic, doesn't do homework, doesn't want security, briefings. Has got his priorities messed up.
Wants his own private security detailed?
Yeah, confrontational. Every day is another ridiculous thing with this man. Today apparently he aligned with Russian intelligence opposed to our intelligence services. I think it's going to be rough. I love the optimism of, peace and, hopefully a better world with less turbulence, less wars and conflicts. But man, I'm looking at his 140 characters every day, and there's nothing but mayhem and disaster that is on its way. And so that's what I expect. Also, 2017 for me doesn't have any big events, like no World Cup, no Olympic Games. The only thing that's worth noting is the full solar eclipse in August, and there's 100 years of from the socialist revolution in Russia, which is basically the same thing, the solar eclipse.
But you will be traveling. You will be traveling to Bulgaria, won't you, in the summer?
Sure.
That'll be a thing. The president talked about. He wished everybody a Merry Christmas. He complained about having to chase their dogs away from cookies. He said the theme for the White House this year was a timeless tradition. And decorations in each room in the White House reflect some of our... Hang on a minute. Merry Christmas and decorations and cookies for Father Christmas. This is from the American president. Now, the Queen is talking about inspiration, and Trump is talking about serious stuff. But Obama... He's talking about. He comes on. He does after a little while. He gets on to saluting our troops and their families to helping children dream big dreams for their future. He said we've invited thousands of families here to the White House to enjoy the festivities, treating one another with love and compassion.
Aha! He said the festivities.
He did,
Clearly,
yes.
he's continuing his war on Christmas then.
Yes.
Thought he might be.
That's the spirit that binds us together, not just as Christians, but as Americans of all faiths. During this season, we also honour all those who defend these values in our country's uniform. Every day, the brave men and women of our military serve to keep us safe, and so do their families. The First Lady specifically asked Americans to take time to pay tribute to those who've given our country so much. She said, go to joiningforces.gov to see how you can serve the troops, veterans and military families in your communities. And together we can show them just how grateful we are for their sacrifice. That's a tradition we can all embrace. Chris, straight out of the army, Chris Magerkurth. Major Chris. We're going to call him Major Chris, although he's had that name for a long time.
The rank is purely honorary.
It's an honorary.
I didn't serve that long.
Right, okay. So what do you think about what they said? They didn't address Trump. They didn't address the Queen.
Oh, I think he was probably trying to be non-confrontational at the end of the year. Didn't want to influence too much. I mean, as Trump has been a little bit more active as a president-elect since November. I mean, the stuff with Carrier, the stuff with GM, the recent what was the other one he was taking credit for getting jobs back. So I think Obama was being a little bit more subdued, trying not to.
I think he's just busy as hell.
Well, there's that too.
I mean, he's trying to bulletproof certain things that he doesn't want Trump to eliminate. You know, like Massachusetts.
Yeah.
He's working really hard.
What?
Massachusetts.
Oh,
Yeah.
I just wish he'd pardoned Snowden and Manning. Those two
Okay.
people. Those two people
know
need to
that
come
I'm
back.
gonna see that he could actually do that at this
Yes, he
point.
could.
No, I mean, I'm sorry.
Well,
he
granted-
technically could.
Granted, neither. Well, he could pardon Manning
Uh-huh.
because she actually was convicted.
Right.
I don't
Snowden,
think Deflategate was that bad. Oh, sorry.
Wrong Manning.
Oh, yeah, it's not. So you're thinking Brady, not me.
Oh, well, it's all,
They're
sportsy
all-
type stuff.
All the same person.
Snowden
With
might not be. I mean, since he hasn't actually been, but he could issue probably some order that at least helps him out a little bit.
Right.
Tyler,
As opposed to-
you when you're not in the ring, you're working with kids. What do you think they're going to be looking at in the new year? I mean, do you think they do? Do you think kids do look at the new year? Do they look for inspiration from their leaders,
No.
teachers, whatever?
Not really.
In fact, do they give a shit?
Honestly, they're politicians. No, not really.
No.
Because I can tell you that most students, they can't even tell you who the current vice president is. They have no idea. They
The
can't tell
current
you.
vice president can't tell you who the current vice president is.
The only reason they know who Brownback is because they hate him so much, because of all the negative press. But if he were just marginal, they'd have no idea who he is. They don't know who the Kansas senators are. They don't know any of that.
But
And
they
as
know
far as-
Kanye.
Oh, but yeah, they know
Yeah.
Kanye, and they know Donald, because that was somebody different. But as far as their political leaders, not so much now. Not at all.
So what do you try to do when you're working with children? Do you try and inspire them?
I do.
Or do you just try and give them information and when the bell goes, you're out of there as fast as you possibly can be?
My job isn't really to teach them content. My job is to teach them how to function as good human beings, as quality individuals, perpetuating a good, positive society, and interacting in that society and helping us as a species improve. That's my job.
How can you be that optimistic? These are teenagers you're talking about. Don't you ever just want to smash them?
I can be that optimistic because my faith is people. That's where I put everything in people. That's what my faith lies in it. And I can't give up hope. For my job, I just can't.
Dr. Orlando,
Yes.
what do you think?
I think
You believe children are our future, right?
yes, teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside.
Well, but going back to
Much more of that song than I do.
to the Queen, her words about inspiration, I would listen to them more carefully if she hadn't a few years ago come across with the whole annus horribilis thing. Completely forgetting that most people don't speak Latin. When they hear her talk
I'm
about,
amazed this 90-year-old woman remembers Latin and can.
oh well,
It's her
she's
native
reading a
language.
speech, but most of the world thought she meant she had hemorrhoids. I can't take her seriously.
So what are we talking about for the new year?
What am I talking about?
Yeah, what's
I'm
coming
talking about
in
the
the
new line of DC superhero movies that are getting ready to come out. Hoping that they can turn things around a little bit.
Right. Ivo, what about you?
What am I looking forward? Well, I already
What are you
mentioned.
looking for?
for?
What do you want in 2017 apart from more sex?
Wow.
Hot, sweaty. In
Well, it's the year of the
studios with-
rooster.
studios with young ladies
No
interviewing
escaping
you.
that. You know. I don't know. Like I said, I don't have very high expectations. Definitely looking towards the new Alien movie. Did you see the trailer? That thing? It freaked me out. I don't get scared anymore.
Oh boy.
But that one was freaking scary, and that's Ridley Scott. But guess what, guys? There's another Blade Runner coming.
Have they
Runner.
started actual production on that at this point?
think so.
Oh yeah.
I knew
There's
that
been
they
a
were working on
trailers
casting.
and- No.
I didn't realize that they had
Trailer
actually.
looks good.
Yeah.
You know,
Wow.
it was
Looks fantastic.
going back to the conversation we had last time where we talked about like there's nobody in sci-fi.
Right.
Ridley Scott. I mean, in my opinion, Ridley Scott is
Oh, yeah.
the master of sci-fi as far as our current modern.
I agree.
There you go.
So here's your answer, Jeremy. Basically, we're looking towards escapism. We're looking to escape from the realities of this next year. I know that less celebrities hopefully will die because freaking 2016.
There aren't any left.
2016 almost killed everybody. You're right, including Mariah Carey's career. That was the last victim.
last
victim
fatality.
of
No,
2016.
that was already dead.
Yeah, that was already that, but this was it. This was like they buried it. Did you see that debacle? I watched
Well,
it
the first
live.
debacle
Saw a
was
picture
what
or
she
two
was
from
wearing.
it. Yeah.
Oh, it was horrible. Yeah,
That's
she should not be wearing
disgusting.
that. And then she tried to lip sync, and apparently the monitors weren't working, or the vocal track wasn't working. So she just stood and played with her hair, literally played with her hair, and encouraged the crowd to sing the song. And it was a complete disaster of Milli Vanilli proportions, and it was just unwatchable and horrible. Because this woman had talent at some point. I mean, she could hit like
She
high
had
notes.
what
and
they
it was
called the
octave.
full 8-octave
Yeah.
range. Yeah.
She
Yeah.
was amazing, and that song "Emotion."
Well, she still
was
has that range. It's just she doesn't do anything.
yeah.
I think when you're someone like that, you know, your agents have said, turn up, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. You know, she's being paid a huge amount of money to
Yeah.
do it, and somebody messes up,
Yeah.
and they go, you know what, I could be at home with my friends.
Yeah, I'm
So-
actually thinking that her career's not going to be over. I think that by the time Christmas comes around, she will release another Christmas album, and it'll be on top of the charts again.
Yeah. She was like Tyler said. It's been over for a long time for her. But basically, what I think is going to happen in 2017, which is kind of exciting, in times of darkness, in times of tyranny, art prospers. And we're going to see a lot of fantastic art. A lot of musicians will write real music that comes from the heart. I'm going to go and see the Roger Waters concert. I'm looking forward to this. That's going to be fantastic. But I also expect a lot of great music, a lot of great art, literature. Things like art will go in opposition against this madness.
Yeah, a friend of mine is saying
yeah.
that punk's going to make a comeback in 2017, which make me very
That
happy.
would be fantastic.
Punk.
Yeah,
Punk.
you're right. In times like this is when alternative art strikes, and that's gonna be great.
I
great
want more
because it's been
steampunk.
stagnant. Yeah,
I like steampunk, me.
yeah.
Dr. Orlando hasn't got the
also,
faintest idea what I'm talking about.
I'm looking forward to the demise of the man bun. This is,
Oh,
it's
yeah,
almost
very
over.
much so.
It's almost over. It's the
Man bun.
The man bun is almost dead, but survived
the man
2016. 2016 couldn't kill man bun, but
Excuse
it's
me,
very
producer,
close.
what's a man bun?
This is this hairdo where men grow
Men
long
with long
hair
hair.
and then they make it into a little bun
Like a
on
librarian.
top.
Oh,
like
right,
a-
librarian. Right,
Yeah,
okay, no.
It's
I got it,
basically
yeah.
if you
That's
see younger guys walking around with a lonely excrement on their head,
Right.
that's not an excrement, that's a man bun.
Right.
So that's the man bun, and I can't wait
noticed,
for it to go away.
I noticed President Putin doesn't have one.
No.
But you can
Oh,
imagine
not yet.
him. Yeah.
Not yet.
It's coming.
Trump could.
But Trump could have a man bun. Yeah.
Oh, that would
Could
be
have a-
so cool. Little golden nugget on top of his head.
Comban. Come over, bum.
Come over, bud. Now, before we address some of the things that Vladimir Putin, he sent Donald Trump a letter expressing hope for cooperation between Russia and US. Now, you know, if you're a man from Mars, right, and two leaders of big countries say that, why is that a bad thing? I don't know. It's
Well,
just a
he
thought.
has an agenda, obviously, and everybody knows this, but Trump apparently. But his agenda is to divide the NATO and to divide the European Union. He was the one person that celebrated the most with the Brexit. He doesn't like a coalition of the West because he said it himself. He wants the Soviet Union back. He wants to annex all those countries, the Baltic countries. He wants them back. He said himself in a big speech, he said that the biggest tragedy of the 20th century, the biggest tragedy of the 20th century is the dissolution of the Soviet Union. So it's not World War I, it's not World War II, the genocide, you know, it's none of that. No, it's the freaking stupid Soviet Union, an artificially created country that dissolved. That's the biggest tragedy. So this man wants it back.
He wants more than it back.
Oh yeah,
He wants
more. Yes.
I want to
And
know
he
what
will-
Trump's going to do when he
Nothing.
decides to take over Alaska.
He's playing him like
No,
a-
seriously.
yeah.
What would he do?
No.
He's already made motions that he said, if you have people of Russian descent in the area, then that is our land. That includes Alaska.
Well, fortunately, Sarah Palin
And that is
is
one
up
of
there,
their main goals.
and she can see the Russians coming from her bedroom window. So thankfully, we're thankful. And Sarah
Well, is that
Palin
why he's going to
will-
dissolve NATO? That way, then when Putin invades Alaska, we won't have NATO to back us up.
Hey,
Can I-
he said if you have Russian people of Russian descent, we gotta get rid of that stupid Russian stand-up comedian Yakov Smirnov, because man,
I
he's
don't
on
know.
our land.
The
So,
Russians
Jeremy-
can have
oh.
Branson, as far as I'm concerned.
To answer your question,
good.
I think that if you were talking about two unknown entities, this would not be a bad sentiment. The fact is, we're talking about a despot and an idiot. So,
But he says serious global and regional challenges which our countries have to face in recent years show that relations between Russia and the US remain an important factor in ensuring stability and security in the modern world. I hope that after you assume the position of President of the United States of America, we will be able, by acting in a constructive and pragmatic manner, to take real steps to restore the framework of bilateral cooperation in different areas, as well as bring our level of collaboration on the international scene to a qualitatively new level.
And you can tell that certainly wasn't Trump because it had words of more than one
You
syllable.
know, you know what?
Several multiple
I'm
syllable
amazed by China. I'm so impressed by how collected they are in the face of this madman who's challenging them and is taunting them, and they're so composed because all they have to do to kick our ass is just stop our iPhones, and we will die. This entire society will fall apart. They will just cut our iPhones off, and we'll be dead. And Trump will be tweeting by pigeons, you know, and his life will be over.
Well, it's a pigeon tweet.
Pigeon tweet.
Pigeon
His
tweet.
life will be over as well. I mean, everything. I probably currently, I have more Chinese stuff. Everything we wear is Chinese. My feelings are probably Chinese. You know, what is this idiot doing? I have no idea. Trying to alienate a power, a global power that we are intertwined with. Our economy, everything. We are the same country, basically. You know, what is he doing? It's just unbelievable. It's not thinking. It's just tweet first, think later. Oh no, actually, not even think later. Tweet
Yeah, I
first,
There's no
tweet
thinking
later.
going on at all. It's,
Yeah.
it's all reactionary.
But I'm not sure whether pigeons do tweet. Do they do pigeons tweet?
Tweet.
they
They
kind
could.
of
They're
caw
birds.
or coo.
I don't know if anyone's actually taught them how to tweet, but you know they've taught them to peck
They're
it.
very clever, and they travel a lot. And
Yeah.
they used pigeons in the First War, and Second World War to give messages. But apparently, Mr. Trump, I mean, everybody doesn't like Mr. Trump, and I think, there's certain parts of Mr. Trump that are quite interesting. For instance, no, don't laugh, it's true.
There's
He
nobody
doesn't
laughing.
use, for important messages, he never uses email.
Oh, he's
Or
that is
tweets.
genius.
He has
Used to use
stuff
email plenty. He
hand-
just had it all
hand delivered
erased.
by courier.
Yes.
He couriers his message everywhere. What do you think about that?
fantastic.
No, it's clever, that, isn't it, courier? And pigeons, because he's got
Which
pigeons.
courier does
on,
he use?
On
North
pictures.
Korea?
He's got
South
pigeons
Korea?
on the top of Trump Tower. Not a lot of people know that.
That's a great
Pigeons,
solution.
pigeons on top of Trump Tower.
Yeah. So the rest of the world will be moving at cyber speeds, but we'll be moving with
Yeah.
pigeon speed. That's great.
Basically.
Now, it is also fair to say that when we look at giving New Year's messages, we have with us an international author and broadcaster.
And sex symbol.
And sex symbol, yes. And, you can see him on TV by being interviewed by all these lovely young ladies and stuff like that. And every year, without fail, a message is given to the people of his country from a sort of throne that he has. And we're very lucky that we don't understand a word he says because it's all in Bulgarian or something like that, Russian or whoever. It's clear that President Putin hates him because Mr. Putin feels that he needs to speak for 3 hours as opposed to our friend who speaks for 10 minutes. But it is an internationally recognized, much like the Queen, actually, of United Kingdom.
In the same voice?
A similar voice, but with a Bulgarian accent. Yes, the Queen usually starts her speech by, "As I look back over the year," something like that. But I don't quite know how one encapsulates those sort of words in Bulgarian or something. But we have spent a lot of money and tried very hard to persuade Mr. Ivo to give us some thoughts from his New Year's message to the people of Bulgaria. In fact, it's said that the president of Bulgaria asked him not to stand against him in the Bulgarian elections. And other things I can tell you, as you will all know, the most interesting man in the world, he is actually currently on a rocket on his way to Mars. And this chap, Mr. Ivanov, international bestseller and broadcaster, turned down the option to be the most interesting man in the world. So I'm very interested. I am an interesting person myself, but I'm interested to know, Mr. Ivo, what are your thoughts for the people? Because the people of America, they're not quite. Obviously, they're not Europeans, and so that doesn't help. But I'm just interested in what you thought. Off you
A
go.
lot of thoughts, but the introduction took all the time. We need to wrap up the show, guys. No. Yeah, they did ask me actually, but that's an alternative address to the nation. Basically, there's a regular presidential address on New Year's Day and on New Year's Eve, and then there's an alternative one which is humorous. And they usually find somebody goofy like me to do it. So they asked me to do it this time. And thanks to our producer, Neil, who helped me with the green screen, we did it. And it was all just a giant pile of bullshit that I put together for New Year's. Really, absolutely. Yeah, you can really search very carefully in the smallest detail for anything meaningful in my address, and you will not be able to find it. So basically, I looked back at 2016 at all the horrible things that happened. Looked back at all the people that have passed away, which we did last week. We reminisced about all the wonderful people that we lost. I discussed a little bit the people that yet again didn't die, like Keith freaking Richards, who is just basically immortal.
He's preserved. He took so many drugs. He's never gonna die.
He's marinated in heroin, and this guy will never ever die. In fact, I was thinking how he fell from a tree in New Zealand, remember? A few years back when he was 200 years old. He fell from a tree, hit
And
every...
the tree fell over.
Yeah, he fell, hit every branch, dusted himself off and kept on going and smoking. He probably lit a cigarette immediately. But I was thinking at the time, in the airplane industry, aircraft industry, they make black boxes out of a titanium alloy, and they're basically indestructible. They need to stop this and start making them out of Keith Richards. That's what they need to. That's what they need to do.
Just follow him around, capture little skin shavings
Yeah,
as they fall off.
I looked back at the Olympics, which
Clone
was
him every once in a while.
quite an amazing Olympics, because we expected Armageddon. We expected the Zika virus to wipe everybody out. We expected, like Dave Barry said in his column the other day, that sea-going feces will, eat the surfers alive and all that. But in fact, the Olympics were very successful. Nobody got attacked except Ryan Lochte attacked himself.
And nobody beat Brazil in soccer, but that's
Yeah. And then, Michael Phelps, as usual, like he won his 247th medal. This guy, man, one thing's for sure, Michael Phelps, after all these years in the pool, there's not a fisherman in this world that wouldn't want to take a picture with this guy and measure him, and weigh him. And then there's his gills must hurt like hell at this point after 20 years. And then we had Usain Bolt, that freak of nature. He finished so fast he outran his inner voice probably by a few seconds. But the Olympics were interesting. I looked back at this and I kind of thought about how uneventful 2017 promises to be. But usually when something seems uneventful, man, something bad happens. I mean, 2001 was supposed to be uneventful. So I'll be on the edge. Still though, freaking glad we made it for 2016.
It lasted about 4 years, 2016, as
Yes.
I recall. It was a very, very long year.
It was a long year, and obviously nothing huge, not a huge scheduled event is about to happen. But man, I'm looking forward to that solar eclipse. That's gonna be cool.
Oh, yeah.
That's gonna be cool in August, and we gotta find the right
gonna
spot because it's
show
gonna be right
across
here.
the entire country,
Yes,
down through the
yes.
middle of it, isn't
it'll
it?
it'll
Yes.
come really close to Kansas City, Lawrence area, so
yeah.
you should be able to see a real good
It-
full.
Cool.
It basically is going to travel via I-70 through the country. Yeah, it's going to be great.
Now, how do you think Europeans are going to look towards America? I mean, I know what I think, but I'm interested in what you think, Ivo.
What's very surprising is how many people in Europe are excited about Trump. Partly because they don't know him, because they don't know him like we do. I arrived in New York City in 1990 and lived there for about 6 months. And I was in shock because I was in shock by how universally hated this man is in his own city. That was in 1990. I could not find a Republican or a Democrat or anybody that had anything nice to say about this guy.
So
He
you're
was
thinking-
everywhere. He was everywhere.
Yeah.
He was on the buildings. He was in the New York Post. He was in the papers everywhere. And whenever Trump got mentioned, people go, "Pff, that asshole."
So the better you know him, the more you hate him.
Yeah, but
Is that
in
why he
Europe,
can't hang on to a wife?
probably, yeah, good point. But back to Jeremy's question. For example, in Bulgaria, people are elated about him. People are leaning to the extreme right all over Europe now, all over. I mean, we saw it with the Brexit, but the same goes in Germany, in Switzerland, in France, in everywhere. People, because of the migration wave and the refugees that came from the Middle East, and because people are shocked by the culture clash. They are not used to seeing people in burqas on the streets. They feel threatened. They feel their culture threatened. Their historic inheritance threatened. And so people are leaning towards closing their borders, finding somebody on the extreme right, and they see in Trump the arrival of this force against multiculturalism. People are like violently right now against multiculturalism and globalism. So they look at him as a sign of hope. And it's shocking, and I have to talk to my friends one by one and explain who this guy is, explain his policy, explain his lack of intelligence, his narcissism, the danger that he represents, and little by little work on every person, but that's an uphill battle. Most people just are excited about him. Yeah.
It's interesting you say that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Little by little, you said, work on person. And so we come back to Her Majesty the Queen's speech.
Oh my God.
She said, went on to say, they are an inspiration to those who know them, and their lives frequently embody a truth expressed by Mother Teresa. From this year, Saint Teresa of Calcutta. Not all of us can do great things, but we can do small things with great love.
That's
There
a
you
good
are, you
message.
see.
That's a wonderful message. Well done.
Yeah.
Well done. I always liked Queen. That Bohemian Rhapsody, man.
Yeah.
She's
cool,
fantastic.
Fat bottom girls.
I like We Will Rock You, We Are the Champions.
Bicycle.
I'd like to ask Lin a question. Does the Chinese premier, whoever he or she may be, do they do a Chinese New Year? Do they do something like we've been talking about, a message to the country?
Yes, I think they do.
Right.
But it's the Chinese New Year.
Yeah, Chinese
The
New
Year
Year.
of the Rooster.
Right, it's the year of the
when
rooster.
when is the new Chinese New Year?
January 27th.
So do you wake up excited on January the 27th? What do they do in China? Do they give each other presents, or you have a big meal?
They blow us out of the water with their fireworks. I'll tell you that right now. For a
Have
week.
you been there during the New Year?
A week before the New Year's, it's fireworks 6 a.m. to midnight every day, and it gets more and more intense. I mean, you go down the street corner, you can buy in boxes those big mortar shells just from guys on the street. It's insane, the fireworks going off there.
And Lynn, do you celebrate it now? Here,
Yes, we do.
You do?
Yeah, we do every year do a...
And what do you do? Tell me what you do. How do you celebrate it?
Nowadays, after Kim States got married, every year we have a New Year party. It used to be a several hours sit-down dinner. Now it evolves into an open house from
Right.
2 to 3 a.m.
We're all coming. Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, thank you.
Everybody's
And all the
invited.
listeners,
Period.
Yeah, terrific, yeah.
Yeah.
I hate January 27th because all the Chinese restaurants are closed.
Yeah, it's true.
Sucks.
But on Christmas Day, it's great for a Chinese.
Yes.
Yeah, right. So you have a big meal. Now, are your folks still alive? Are your parents
No,
still
my
alive?
mom's still alive.
What does she live here or in China?
No, she's still in China.
She's still in China. So, do you try and talk to her on New Year's Day? I'm trying to
Yes,
find out whether it's, for me, it's like, is it like Christmas Day for me, or,
Oh yeah.
Halloween for Kathleen? you know?
Oh yeah, I have
Everybody
to.
travels. It's a big tradition to go home
It's a
on
big.
New Year's.
It's a big deal. It's a big deal. If I don't call her, I'm in trouble. So I have to
Right.
call her.
Is there some kind of carnival associated with New Year, like a street carnival or some kind of celebration with
Everybody's.
Dragons.
That's another
another
festival.
festival?
But the Chinese New Year celebration usually lasts 15 days. So
That is good.
What's the
Christmas for
significance of the
15 days.
15 days?
That's
And,
cool.
and variety shows on TV, the strangest variety shows you've ever seen.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but the Chinese are very weird people. So.
Well, what about food? What about food? No, they're not. They've been around for thousands of years.
Right. Yeah.
What about food? What's your favourite foods?
Well,
do you do New Year's Eve type food?
I don't really cook well, so
Dumplings
You
are
gotta
the,
have little Smokies barbecue sauce.
no. It's just, but the tradition is a big meal,
Right.
all kind of stir fries, and then the tradition is the New Year Eve you have dumpling.
Uh-huh.
That's
Okay.
and then the firecracker. And kids get money, cash, so that's real good.
Yeah.
It's inside a red envelope, pure cash. So you go talk to every auntie, uncle.
That's the same in Bulgaria. We do.
Yeah.
The kids go to the elders and they give them money.
Yeah.
It's the kids wish them good New Year, and in exchange the older person has to give them money. So I used to make a lot of money
Oh,
around
yeah.
New Year.
Me too.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
interesting that doesn't exist here. We should import
Well,
that.
there was that TV show about the guy who ran the shoe shop, married with children.
Oh, yes.
And
Al
you
Bundy.
see, Al Bundy, and he sits on the settee, doesn't he? And the family all turn up, and he hands out money, even the dog.
Sorry,
Right.
I'm translating what settee actually means.
he means
Couch.
sofa.
He means couch. Okay. Yes, he sits on the couch. And yes, he just literally waits there with envelopes or just naked cash for people to walk by and
But
steal.
what I'm fascinated by, is that from an English point of view, we basically ran the world for a short while.
Oh yeah.
Way too
and-
long.
And now we have, in some ways, we have Lin from China, and the Americans and the Brits and the Russians should have a decent relationship with China. And the Americans should have a decent relationship with Russia, and the Russians should have a decent relationship with the other country. Am I being incredibly naive? Why can't we do that? Because, Russia is a fantastic country. If you leave aside the people, like Putin, the country itself, the land, is an amazing place. China, the same.
So what you're saying is United States, Britain, and China should have a VD-free threesome.
Something like that, yeah.
I understand.
Maybe a buy.
That's
A bit more buy, I think.
That it's easy to understand.
Bring in Russia and there's an orgy. So
Yeah.
Do you guys think that maybe the U.S. has peaked? I mean, it's got to as highest point as it's going to get, and now it has started its decline.
yeah, I can
There's
see.
there's lots
that
of
argument.
good arguments. If you look at the fact that we have entered what everybody's calling the post-truth era, if you look at the fact that we as a country are more interested in our entertainment than we are in the structure of our society, that we are now seem to be falling back into this pattern of isolationism.
Yeah.
And like all of those things, if you look
We
at
got
any
fat
great
and
society,
self-indulgent. That's it.
well, if you look at any great society, they tend to follow that pattern. And it's, just comparing us to, France or Spain or
Great Britain.
or
Look at
Great
the
Britain
Victoria's
or even
empire.
ancient Rome. That argument could be very easily made. All that being said, I'm not sure that I agree with any of it, simply because there's so much left to be done here in America. I really, really don't want to think that we have reached our apex. I really want to think that it's more like the stock market, where we have ticks and then we drop a little bit and then we go back up again, because I really, really want to see the world where my daughter can exist feeling like she doesn't have to compete additionally hard because of her sex and because of her race. I want to live in a society where my boy doesn't have to literally fear the police. Like, these are the things that I want to see happen. And I felt quite literally 2 months ago like it was still within the realm of possibility. And I don't want to give that up. So I'll make the argument and then I'll say no thank you. I'm going to keep believing that that this country will be as great as I thought it was going to be last year.
Tyler is famous for beating the shit out of people, but his other likes working with kids as well, strangely. Do you use kids to beat other kids with? Do you actually hold them by their
All
legs?
the time.
Yes.
Hey, you can't talk about that.
Okay, so what do you
talking about my
think?
classroom,
You've
not-
been
Okay.
sitting there sort of fiddling with yourself a bit. I just wondered what you're thinking about for the new year. Yeah, I said that without a twitch,
No, that's
didn't
fine.
I? Yeah,
Knock yourself out, buddy, if
Yeah.
that makes you feel better.
it does.
I would kind of agree
Regularly.
a little bit with Lewis as far as that, yes, we are crumbling as an empire, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. I think maybe we kind of need to be taken down a peg a little bit. And what I'm hoping is that in our downfall as it continues, which it will continue for a while, that it will cause maybe a generation or two to kind of come together, like we saw after World War II and after the Vietnam era. And you will see people kind of come together and actually stand up and try and make a positive change once again for America. And hopefully that spirit of we can do better. We can be a better people. I hope that comes back. And that's kind of what I anticipate.
Yeah, that's why I hope people are more inspired to be more together, to do things collectively,
Yeah.
and and make real changes. Because I don't think U.S. has to be at its apex for your son and daughter to live a safe and free life. I mean, we can be a second-tier nation in the world and still be a beacon for other people to say, yeah, this is the way we should be treating others.
And even though there are probably more reported events, and Louis, you brought this up on one of our past shows, that there are more reported events of things like discrimination, racism. Again, that's always been there. But the one thing I am hearing more positively is a lot of my former students, I hear from them, and they're doing things like actively going out and participating in clubs and organizations, such as there's an organization up on KU's campus about trying to create a more affordable education for students. And they've never made this, but they're just now doing this. Seeing a new generation become activists and trying to create social change is fantastic, and I hope that continues. And that's why one could argue that Trump, to an extent, is almost a necessary evil.
Yeah.
I want to wish everybody who listens to our little podcast a happy and successful
You mean that one
new
guy?
Year. Yeah, a happy and successful new year. I want to remind you of the Queen, who could have been your Queen's thoughts on our own we can't end wars or wipe out injustice, but the cumulative impact of thousands of small acts of goodness can be bigger than we can imagine. Want to thank the regulars who come on the show. First of all, I think it's important that we thank our producer, Neil Rasmussen, and editor, Eric Holcomb, who turn up. They get little thanks, but they turn up for now nearly 2 years of doing this podcast. We have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of listeners to our podcast, and it's just fun. We do it in the back room of a bar, and lots of interesting people, and the steak fries are real. The used steak fries. Tom Conroy, of course, for letting us do this every week. And as I say, do come and try his steak fries. They're pretty terrible, but we've got to keep going.
They make them out of steak.
Yeah, and, which is strange. And he does run probably the coolest proper pub in the region. The team, of course, the indefatigable Kathleen Taylor, the magic Dr. Orlando, the legendary Tyler Durden, that marvellous sophistication Jane Carter is not with us tonight, the Dark Lord of Transylvanian Pheromones, Ivo Ivanov. Guesting with us tonight, of course, Chris and Lin. We have other guests. Don't forget that if you're interested, you can email the show, but you've got to listen to the podcast, and that's the deal. But you can get in touch with us if there's subjects you'd like us to cover. We'd be very happy to do that. From me, your host, Jeremy Taylor, thanks for joining in last year, 2016, and thank you for listening in 2017. Don't forget to check into our shows live on KLWN, particularly on Fridays and Saturdays, when you can hear Eric, the producer, who wears his Viking hat. Yes, so you've been listening to another Wednesday Night Undressed.
Bye, Tim.
Yay.